warroomsports.com. Get that mobile app.
What's going on, War Room Nation? Welcome to another edition of Inside the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports. I'm one of your hosts today. I'm Dev, and I'm at the round table with the homie Jimmy, the Blueprint. What up, Blueprint?
Yo, man, rest in peace to my man Sean Price, a.k.a. Mike Tyson. That means Saturday in hip-hop. Rest in peace.
No doubt. We got the homie B. Austin at the round table. What up, B?
Yo, usually I'm looking for something clever to say, and I was mad Jimmy robbed me of my bars, but for real, yo, rest in power to the brother Sean Price, a.k.a. Ruck, Le Flo, Le Fla, Eshkoshka. I saw your little promo being Tyrese on the bus. It was funny as shit.
And that was like 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. Peace. Rest in peace to the homie. All right, so inside the War Room today, we're going to talk about one of the NFL's premier wide receivers. That is DeSean Jackson of the Washington Professional Football Team. He made news this week on a couple of fronts. First and foremost, and what we'll talk about the most prior to discussing his new injury, was the fact that DeSean Jackson boasted that no one in this NFL can stop him, including the NFL's top cornerbacks. He named Darrelle Revis and the homie Richard Sherman. Let me set the scene for you guys before we talk about it, let you know how it came about. They're in Richmond, of course, for training camp. He was being interviewed after practice, and they asked him about Chris Culliver, who's one of the D-backs of the Washington team right now. They asked DeSean about Chris Culliver challenging him during practice. So this was what DeSean Jackson said, and I quote, "I don't think no one can guard me. It's how I feel about myself. I don't feel no one can stop me. You can get Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman, whoever you want to get." All right, so just to back up a little bit of his words, we know DeSean Jackson is one of the better deep threats in the league. We can discuss other aspects of his game, or lack thereof, after I finish setting this up. But last year he did lead the NFL with 13 catches for 40 yards or more. That was 5 more than any other wide receiver. He also averaged an NFL best 20.8 yards per catch, which is nearly 3 yards more than the next wide receiver, which was Arizona's Michael Floyd. Since entering the NFL as a second-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2008, he's averaged an NFL best 17.6 yards per catch. And he also has 48 catches for 40 yards or more, which is 11 more than anybody else during that span. Fellas, can anybody stop DeSean Jackson? What he's saying.
Let me say something real quick, because I'll be very brief. When we came on this show, we were supposed to talk about one of the NFL premier receivers. So I thought maybe we were going to talk about Megatron. And they say DeSean Jackson, and this is no shade to DeSean. I mean, you're one of the best deep threats, but pause. But I don't even think you would make my top 10 in terms of NFL receivers.
He would make your top 20?
He may make my top 20, but top 10, definitely not my top 10 overall in terms of receivers. I had to think about that. He may or may not make my top 20, but I think he may make top 20, but top 10, definitely not. I could say that, without even looking at names, I could say he doesn't make my top 10. In terms of the stats Dev laid out, those are impressive stats for a guy that does one thing. But this is a league now where you need somebody, that does more than one thing. And you talk about being a premier receiver and being that no one can stop you. If they shut you down from going deep, then you're not going across the middle. Since that Falcons game when your soul left the arena, you stopped going across the middle. So, I mean, to answer your question, can he be guarded? Yeah, just take away the deep threat. Take away the deep ball. Play him, give him space underneath.
Oh, no, to answer it, before I know B about to go in, but to answer the question, tell the Washington team to make the playoffs, and then we'll see.
That actually was a segue, and what just happened,
he said the playoffs can stop him.
What just happened is we're playing 3-on-3, and my point guard just threw me a lob. So now it's my job to dunk the ball. Since his rookie season, the last 3 times that DeSean Jackson has been to the playoffs, he's actually been voted to the Pro Bowl. So we're going to go with his 3 Pro Bowl seasons and those appearances in the playoffs. DeSean Jackson, during those seasons, you had, and I'm giving you the stats, I'm giving you the numbers, You had 3 catches in 2009 for 14 yards in one playoff game. In 2010, you had 2 catches for 47 yards. And in 2013, you had 3 catches for 53 yards. So what that means, folks, is
how many touchdowns?
I'm going to get to that. In 3 playoff games, 2009, 2010, 2013, you averaged 2.6 catches, 38 yards a game, and 0.3 touchdowns because you had 1 touchdown in that entire span of 3 years. Now, we can go back to your rookie season, which was 2008. You had 11 catches for 207 yards in 3 games in the playoffs and another 1 TD. So you still only average less than 0.4 TDs. The funny thing is what you do, people get excited about. You run 3 routes. There are 9 basic routes in a passing tree. You run the 9 route, you run the deep post, and you run the post corner. Those 3 things you do well. Good teams usually roll coverage your way.
Playoff
to
teams
kind of slow you down. Playoff teams
during the playoffs.
Playoff teams with unique talent at corner actually man you up. There's a guy in New Orleans, Keenan Allen, I want to say his name is. He was in that last playoff game, 2013, and before he left the game with an injury, you had 1 catch for under 20 yards. He left with an injury, and you picked up another 2 receptions, and you got that 53 yards. In the playoffs, you disappear, you shrink. You've been there enough. You've played 6 playoff games. Dude, I don't even want to hear about what you can do and who you're better than and do it in the playoffs. Do it in the playoffs.
See, and the thing is this, when I talk about the playoffs and his performances, it's not even for me that he shrinks in the playoffs, because I don't think he's doing anything extra special during the regular season. I think defenses are different in the regular season. Once you get to the playoffs, most of the time you're facing some of the best defenses in the league. And once you get to that point, teams are less likely to give you your bread and butter. So if DeSean Jackson going deep is a big part of your offense, that's what they're going to try to take away, and they're going to try to give you other things. If they're going to take the home run away, which a lot of teams do in the playoffs. So I don't necessarily think it's about him. Well, I guess you have to put some of the onus on him as well, because if he was a quote-unquote premier receiver, cats like Dez, Megatron, Demarius, those cats are going to get theirs no matter what.
And they also are going to line up. They're going to line up on both sides of the field. They're going to line up inside. They're going to go in motion, and they run the full route tree. We can hate on Dez all we want, but Dez runs every route. Demarius Thomas runs every route. Megatron's big ass is amazing as a route runner to be 6'6" and 240 pounds. He's an amazing.
I got a question for you based upon your saying. Go ahead. I was going to say, first off, who can stop DeSean Jackson? Dante Robinson. Second off, B. Austin, like when you say that, right? Do you take points away from Richard Sherman because he plays on one side?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think he's a top 3 corner. He would be my number 1 if he could slide inside. Now he did it last year with some success, but he was uncomfortable in the slot. He was very uncomfortable. So, yeah, versatility is big for me in today's passing game because defenses are so complex. If you only do one thing, then they design it to stop you, which is why a lot of your premier receivers will line up at the X, the Y, and the Z. They go all over the field to get open and create the mismatches. That's a part of it.
But B, going back to like a Dez Bryant, like even though he can run routes, Dez has the type of talent and the type of physicality where even if they're taking away the bread and butter, you're taking away what Dez is doing on the route tip, you can still throw him the ball because he's physical enough to go up and get it, to wrestle it away from you, all that kind of stuff. Like, you can't do that with DeSean Jackson. When they take away the one thing that he does well, then DeSean Jackson does disappear from a game. And, you know, I tried not to put the onus on him, but I think that's impossible not to give some of that negative credit to him. Some of it is nature. You know, the dude is tiny. So you still have to give him some props, like being that small and being able to do some of the things that he can do. That's impressive. But at the same time, I think I hear his name. I really don't. I think it's usually coming from him or fans of whatever team he plays for. Right now, Washington or Philadelphia fans when he was in Philly. It's usually them trying to put his name, along with DeSean, of course, trying to put his name up in that upper echelon of wide receivers when you are basically a glorified Mike Wallace. You know what I'm saying?
What he does, Dev, is the big play, and casual fans are really, really excited by the big play. What shows up on ESPN is what you concern yourself with. If you don't have the Sunday ticket and you're not clicking through every game, you're not watching every team, you turn to ESPN, you see that he catches a big pass based on a mistake or based on beating coverage because, he's a very talented athlete, then you tend to overrate him. I even hear people throw in the kick return and punt return and special teams ability, and then I have to let them know since 2011 he hasn't scored a touchdown on special teams, and since 2012 he's only returned 16 punts for 68 yards. So even that's kind of overrated.
It's a lot of quality receivers in the league right now. I just happened to look it up to see if he would make my top 20. Be also that you may be right.
No, he's not top 20.
I forgot about guys like A.J. Green, Antonio Brown, like Emmanuel Sanders, guys who may not be household names as of yet,
right?
But are just like great receivers.
I'm gonna go further, Jimmy. To your point, and the reason he's not in my top 20, if you're talking about simply moving the chains, which is an integral component to a receiver that I want. I like the home run threat. Don't get me wrong. I like you to be able to run past people and get deep, and that's all sexy and well. But you have to be able to catch a 5 to 20-yard ball in the middle of the field or going to the outside to move the change.
I think I would have to just not looking at any lists or anything. I would just assume, of course, that he's going to be in my top 20. Besides the home run threat, DeSean Jackson does have hands.
No, he does. He does.
Yeah, I said, he catches some deep balls that I'm like, okay, that's floating up there for a while. There's no way he's gonna come down with that. And he comes down with some stuff. So I'll give him that as a part of his arsenal as well. But he's definitely, and this goes back to when he was in Philadelphia. People thought we were Judas because a couple of us are Eagles fans and we were speaking the truth on DeSean even when he was in town. He's definitely overrated as an NFL wide receiver. And it goes to he was speaking before, people are impressed by the home run ball. Just like in baseball, chicks dig the long ball, and NFL fans are equivalent to chicks when they see something on ESPN and they get excited. But let's talk a little bit about the cornerbacks that he named. Of course, he named the ones who everybody considers the best in the league: Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman. Now, he's gone against these guys in the past few years, and it might go back again to what B. Austin was saying, because these guys generally keep him in check throughout the course of a game, but he did beat Richard Sherman on a deep ball last year. So it's like once you get that deep ball and that's what you do, people are going to forget that every other play in this game, you really didn't do much. So, of course, DeSean Jackson is one of the faster human beings in the NFL. So
neither of those dudes can run with him stride for stride.
Exactly. So, I don't know if they're just going to shut you down unless, like I said, it's a playoffs do-or-die situation where they're hard-pressed not to give you, what you do the best. I actually went to a game in Tampa Bay when he was in his last season with the Eagles 2 seasons ago, and he beat Darrelle Revis for 2 touchdowns. He couldn't get the deep ball off on Darrelle Revis. One of the touchdowns was a route where it broke down in the backfield, and he had some extra time to basically circle the whole end zone. And I believe on one of them, Revis actually left him for the safety help, and the safety didn't do his job, and he actually beat him for 2. He didn't have a great game statistically, but then if you're like a fantasy football head, you throw in 2 touchdowns, no matter how long the touchdowns were, it looks like a success. So he had some success against Revis, but he didn't actually get to do what he does against Darrelle Revis in that game. He beat him on things where he usually doesn't. You know, he doesn't catch short touchdowns.
Did you notice what type of defense Tampa was running specifically?
Well, Tampa, like I said, because on one of them, Darrelle was he tried to push him to safety help, so they were playing zone. They didn't just man up on him, and I admitted that, like, because they had words before the game. DeSean said something about Revis, so the fans in the stands were actually saying something to me about Revis Island and this and that. So because I was an Eagles fan, when he scored, you know, I had to gloat a little bit. But then as the conversation with the intelligent fans ensued, you know, I was like, you know, I'm just talking trash, but I do admit, like, first of all, one of those wasn't Revis's fault. Secondly, you know, he's just not straight up manning up on the dude, and that's what Revis does well. Like, DeSean Jackson is so small, and he doesn't weigh much. He's like Allen Iverson in football pads. So if you can get him jammed at the line, if you stop that jam, then, I mean, if you know, if you can stop his momentum from the start, then you have a great chance of defending him. But if you happen to miss on that jam and you got to catch up and run, you know,
I'm a bit of a nerd, so I admit that I actually watch like game film. And if you're a football nerd like me, one of the things that you really will enjoy is watching film of Darrelle Revis, because he does not really make mistakes, and his technique is usually impeccable. And when he's playing a guy like DeSean Jackson, and I'm not being funny, but he's going to sun him. He's going to treat him like, I'm your pop, and you can't run away from me. You're going to get this spanking. And that's what he wouldn't even try and run stride for stride with a guy like DeSean Jackson. He'll lose that foot race 8 times out of 10. And so one of the things that I've seen him do is put his paws on DeSean, break up the timing of the route, and then that's that. When
DeSean will quit
he'll quit on that. Yeah. When they brought Revis to Tampa, his big thing was, all right, it's a payday. It's a $20 million payday basically for 1 year. I can't turn it down. But they were running a zone. They ran a 2, and Revis' argument was, I don't play zone. I mean, I can, but I play. Let me do what I do best. And their argument back to him was, you're coming off of an ACL tear. You aren't what you will be, and you aren't what you were prior to that. Just sit in the zone and play in the zone. So he had some arguments with the staff down there about how much zone they ran with him. And so I can see DeSean Jackson beating that.
The coach isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
When I was there, they were on the coach's head because he wouldn't let, you know, members of his defense do what they could do.
And they had Aqib Talib, and Aqib Talib is a faster. He's kind of a mix between Richard Sherman and Darrelle Revis. He's faster than Sherman, but he's kind of he's a press corner, and he's kind of one of those. He's long, he's tall, he's 6'2", kind of. He's one of those guys. He wants to press. He doesn't want to play any zone, and that was, you know, that was an argument that even he had. I don't think if you line them up 20 times, I don't see DeSean Jackson beating him more than maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. See, and that's another thing that people don't realize. Like, you beat Darrelle Revis 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Darrelle Revis follows you around the field, so Darrelle Revis lined up on you about 50, 60 times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you beat him twice. It looks good because you beat him twice for 2 short touchdowns. You got 2 scores, so it looks like you won that match. I mean, it's the same thing with an offensive tackle and a defensive end. You rip off 2 or 3 sacks in a game, like, you look like you whooped his ass all game. But when you think about it, like, he kept you off the quarterback like 57 other times.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
It's the way we look at things.
I just want to make a quick point. Like, when he made the statement, "No one can guard me," you know, Revis, Sherman. That's actually a sign of respect. I don't look at it like he's trying to diss them, because I saw the way they went to Sherman and Revis trying to it's sort of like when Floyd says, "I'm the best, I'm better than Ali." It's a reason one guy's name always comes out of your mouth.
Absolutely.
So in essence, what you're really doing is, like, you know, giving them props. So, you know, he basically said that Sherman and Revis are those guys. So, you know, not the.
I would love to see him match up with Brent Grimes. They're the same size. That's who I want to see. I want to see him match up and run with Brent Grimes, because Brent Grimes is deceptively fast. He's another 4-2 type of guy, good corner, but he's little. He's very little, and he plays outside. I want to see that matchup. That's what I would want to see.
Well,
Brent Grimes.
The Washington professional football team plays at the New York Jets on October 18th. So we know Revis has been watching these headlines, so we'll see. Because like we
might
know,
give him a concussion.
Revis will, travel the field to see what's up. But at the same time, Revis does that for the best corner. So he might be following Pierre Garçon. Oh, I didn't say that.
Yeah, but no. And no, I know you was trying to take it big and make it funny, but Pierre is better than him. Pierre's definitely.
Overall, he is. Pierre can do more.
He can do much.
He can do more, and he's a deep threat. So yeah, he can definitely.
And
DeSean is just a dynamic deep threat. It's a joy to watch him run down the field and look like he's jogging, while the dude behind him look like he's trying to catch
about to fall down.
A dude who just carjacked him, and the dude is in the car and he's running after the car. Like, it's a joy to watch that. And like I said, once the ball gets there, he has hands. Like, the only time DeSean drops passes is when he's scared. And, he's scared sometimes because he's a little dude. But all in all, he has pretty good hands for what he can do. But we'll see how this all plays out. We'll see. I don't think the Seahawks are on the schedule. I don't know. I have to check the schedule, but I don't think the Seahawks are on.
No, I don't think they play.
Yeah, what division's the NFC East playing this year? It doesn't matter. We'll see if he gets
We're bad. We're bad news media members.
Yeah.
I don't know. I ain't doing any research.
CTE, former weed smoker. Not me, but brain cells gone.
Stop snitching.
Forget. You got too much stuff to do. All right, so y'all know the drill. Make sure you subscribe to the page, the channel, first of all, so you know when a new video is coming out. We do sports, entertainment, all kinds of stuff. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment about what we talked about. Give us your impression. Give us your opinions on the whole DeSean Jackson situation. Can anybody stop DeSean Jackson? Is he a premier receiver in the league? Where do you have him? Top 5, top 10, top 20? Let us know. But,
go ahead and overrate him. Go ahead.
Yeah, but other than that, make sure you visit warroomsports.com so you can check out everything we're doing, our videos, our podcast network, our individual show, The War Room, everything we got going on, our social media platforms. Check us out. And like we always tell you dudes and you ladies, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
See you chumps on top.
Ladies, at me.
Kuwait, it's the war room with 5 nights at the round table, 5 Philly guys